Hey, second graders, you're going to love today's math lesson. It's super fun. We get to make some shapes. We're going to cut out some shapes and we're going to use them to make what's called a composite shape. And then we're going to use the shapes that we've cut out and we're going to actually, once we've created the composite shape, it's going to become a new shape. So what we're going to do first is you're going to need your page that looks like this. Okay, so this right here, does anybody remember what this is called? You have these. We know this big shape here. We know what that's called. That's called a square. These are tangram pieces. So to use your tangram pieces, the first thing we're going to need to do today is we're going to cut out this big square. Okay? And I'm going to cut right alongside you. So if you don't have your scissors, pause me. Go get your scissors. Come back. Pause me whenever you need to today. All right. So we're going to cut out the big square first. All right, so I'm showing you the back side of mine. Yours is probably blank. But the reason I'm showing you the back side of mine is I don't want to look at this side just yet. I want to talk about this shape right here. So this is a two-dimensional shape, and I've already said it was a square. What makes this a square? What are its attributes? Name a few of them, and then I'll call them out and see if you knew them. Did you say it has four sides? It's quadrilateral, isn't it? Did you say that it has two pairs of parallel sides? Because this side is parallel to this side, and this side is parallel to this side. So it's a parallelogram, isn't it? Yeah, it's got two pairs of parallel sides. Is it a rectangle? Yeah, it is a rectangle. It's got those two pairs of parallel sides, and it's got four square corners. So this shape right here is a polygon because it's a closed shape. It is a quadrilateral because quadrilateral means four sides. It has four sides. It is a rectangle because it has two pairs of parallel sides and the four square corners. It's parallelogram because it has two pairs of parallel sides. Technically, I think it's also a trapezoid because a trapezoid just has to have one pair of parallel sides, and it has two. It's also a rhombus because a rhombus means that all the sides are equal, and it has that. So this is like everything all in one here. It's a square. All right, so those are the attributes of the square. Now, the next thing I want to do, let's see here. I want to cut out... First thing I was going to do is I was going to fold it down the diagonal like this. And then I was going to cut this one long diagonal line. You don't have to fold it. It probably won't help you to fold it to cut. Just cut the long diagonal. And now I have these two pieces here, okay? Now, just dropped one. Let me grab that. Get back here. Okay, so look at the back of this and look at the back of this. What can we say about these shapes? Well, they're exactly the same, right? What attributes? What attributes do you see? I know you can call out the name of the shape. It's a triangle, right? Triangle. And you knew it was a triangle because it has 1, 2, 3 sides, right? 3 sides. Is it a polygon? You betcha. It's got 3 sides. It's a closed figure. It's a polygon. Is it a quadrilateral? No, it's not a quadrilateral because it has to have 4 sides to be a quadrilateral. So it's just it's a triangle. So then when we get into triangles, there's a couple things we can notice. Does it have a right angle? We've been calling that a square corner. Does it have a right angle? It sure does right here. This is a right triangle. This is a perfect L shape. Now this angle is not, and this angle is not, but this one here, this is a right triangle. And this one is too then, for that matter. Okay, so this is a triangle. It's got the 3 angles. All right, now let's take what's the next thing we're going to cut here? I think the next thing we're going to do is we're going to cut these two triangles apart. So let's snip these. And now we have these two big triangles, right? And these two big triangles, are either of these right triangles? Do they have a one square corner? This one does. Right there. These two aren't. But these are what's called acute. They're smaller. But this one is. This is a right angle. Look at this one. There it is. There's my right angle. It's a perfect L. Now these are too small. They're not right angles. Okay, so we have two right triangles here now. From that we had one big one, remember? We had a larger triangle. So if we were to put these back together, this would be what's called a composite shape. A composite shape is where you take a couple of little shapes and you put them together to make a new shape. So this right here is a composite shape, but it's also a triangle made from two smaller triangles. I'm going to set my two triangles down. Let's go back to this first triangle here that was the other half of that square. Now I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shapes right here. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this triangle off the top. Okay. Is this a right triangle? Do you see a right angle anywhere? Do you? I do, right there. Okay, so this is also a right triangle. But it's the same size as this one. It's smaller. It's sort of like the medium triangle, okay? So let's put the medium triangle with the two big triangles and put them over here. Now we've got 4 more shapes here. I do see 2 small triangles, so let's cut those first. How many angles does a triangle have? It has 3, you're right. It's a triangle. Tri means 3, like a tricycle has 3 wheels. So these little triangles here, 3 sides, 3 angles, just like the other triangles, and these are little ones, but look what happens. I can take these 2 triangles. Oh, I forgot to say, are they right triangles? This one is, this one is. I can take these 2 triangles though, and I can make a composite shape that's not a triangle. Look what happens. I just made, it's a square using 2 triangles. So I can put 2 triangles together and make a composite shape, a square. All right, let me set these down. So now I have 2 big triangles, a medium triangle, and 2 small triangles. And that's 5 of the 7 pieces of my tangrams. The last 2 things that I have is the square. And we've already talked about the square and how many attributes it has and all of the things, all of the other names we could call this square. All right, now I'm going to put it down. But now I have this last guy here. What is this? I know you've worked with this before. What is this? This is a parallelogram. I mentioned the square was also a parallelogram. Now to be a parallelogram, you have to have 2 pairs of parallel sides. So this top side and this bottom side are what's called parallel. If you kept drawing the lines, see how my hand went straight across? This top side and this bottom side, if you draw these lines out, we'll never cross. And the same thing with these 2 sides here. Because these 2, I don't know if I can show you it. If you came off, you have to imagine, they also would never cross. These 2 sides are parallel. So you have parallel and parallel. Now, do you see any right angles? No, because if I were to use my right angle tool, which guess what? My square can become my right angle tool. If I use my right angle tool here on this angle, look, this angle up here is too big. And come over here, and this angle is too small. And then you come over here, and this angle is the same thing, it's too big, and this one's too small. So this does not have any right angles, but that doesn't mean that a parallelogram can't have right angles, because this is a parallelogram, and it does, okay? Now, is this a polygon? Yes. Is it a quadrilateral? Yes. Is it a rhombus? No. Do you know why not? All the sides are not the same length. These 2 sides are the same length with each other, but not with these. These 2 sides are shorter, so it's not a rhombus. Is it a rectangle? No. It can't be a rectangle because it doesn't have 4 right angles, or L's. Is it a square? No, it can't be a square because it doesn't have those 4 right angles and all 4 sides are not the same length. So we can back up. This is a parallelogram, 2 pairs of parallel sides, and I'm going to write, just so I don't get confused, on the back, parallelogram, P-A-R-A-L-L-E-L-O-G-R-A-M. I'm going to hold this up for you and pause it while you write parallelogram on yours. Okay, so now you've got parallelogram written down. I'm sure you know how to spell triangle and square, and we know these are all the triangles and the squares, so we're not going to write those down. Okay, so the next activity was to create some composite shapes. And so I was going to have you put your tangrams together to try to make some different composite shapes, but I thought of a more fun activity than this, okay? So before we move on to our problem set, I always have to get this book out when I'm thinking of tangrams, Grandfather Tang's Story. And in Grandfather Tang's Story, which is Ann Tompert, you will notice that this is, let me see what where the book has a little bit of background information that I was going to share with you. The tangrams are ancient Chinese puzzles. I love a good puzzle. And adults and kids still do tangrams today. So the tangram has those 7 pieces, and each piece is called a tan. That's why we call them the 7 tangrams. Each piece is called a tan. And normally when you use tangrams, like in the Chinese puzzles, you have to use all 7, but you can only use them one time. So all you have are your 7 puzzle pieces. And what you try to do is you try to put them together to make a composite figure. But your pieces have to touch, but they can't overlap and be on top of each other. So when the tangrams are used to tell a story, the storyteller arranges the tans to show the shape of a character in a tale. So one thing here, it talks about the fox fairies, and I'm not going to read it to you because I've linked the story for you in this lesson in Google Classroom. And so you can choose now if you want to do the story first and then the problem set, or if you want to do the problem set first and then the story. That's up to you. The story, though, you'll see has all these really cool tangram puzzles to build. And you can use your shapes and try to build them. So what I usually do is, if I'm listening to the story on YouTube, I listen to the page and then I pause it and I kind of follow along with the picture to put my tangrams together to build the new composite shape. And then I hit play again and I go on to the next. Now that can take a while, and again, you don't have to finish this whole thing today. The story and the tangram puzzle, you can do that whenever you feel like it, really. And you can probably, if you get on the computer and Google, you can probably find some more tangram puzzles that you can do that are part of Grandfather Tang. So, but save your tangram pieces, okay? When you get all done today, get a little sandwich baggie or something and put them in that and save them, all right? Because we may need them going forward. And you might want to just keep them anyway to do some more tangram puzzles. On today's problem set, you've got, I know you'll be able to identify the polygons because we've talked about the names of the polygons of all of these right here. But one thing it's going to have you do in number 2, it says use the square and the 2 smallest triangles to make the following polygons. So you're going to use your 2 smallest triangles and the square only. And you're going to be rearranging these to try to make a quadrilateral. Remember, that's a 4-sided figure with 1 pair of parallel sides, or a quadrilateral with no square corners. So remember, to make a composite figure, you can't have any gaps. So it can't be like this, because that's a gap. They all have to touch in some way, and this would be a new shape, but I don't even know how many sides this thing has. I'd have to, once I laid it down, count the sides, okay? So you've got to try to follow the rules here in the boxes to create these new composite shapes that are going to be another polygon, just like when I took those 2 triangles and I made a square out of the 2 triangles. So it might be like that. And on the second page, it's got you doing a few more. What they want you to do in the box is they want you to draw it. So you can draw what it looks like here once you've got them put together. And then the very last part is, yep, you're just still drawing today. So like I told you, it's a fun lesson. Have fun, and I will see you tomorrow.